So some weeks when you get your texts, they're difficult to work with because you're like trying to figure out a sermon. Other weeks, like this week's text, is difficult because you have like 7 sermons you could do, but you guys don't want to be here for 7 sermons, right? Okay, good, because if you are willing to be here for 7 sermons, I can just keep going. Okay, so I admittedly am just picking one strain to walk through on this one, and there are very, very many, okay? So the strain I want to start with, the strain I want to look at, it has to do with a period of time in most people's day. It's that period of time between when you could theoretically have gone to sleep and when you actually fall asleep. What do I mean? Well, like I'm a parent. There is a point every evening, and it changes, where the kids have finally fallen asleep. And there really isn't any other worthwhile work for me to get done. Like I could in theory, but I know that I'm not going to, right? We all have that moment. And we work really hard towards that moment, right? But the reality is, and we know this from so many studies, that you hit that moment, and then some number of hours later is when the average person falls asleep. And that gets filled with all sorts of things. Why? Because you get to that moment, you lay down, you're like, I am so tired, I need to fall asleep, I'm so excited, and I can't fall asleep because my brain is now racing everywhere, right? And you're thinking about all the things you said and all the things you did, and you're thinking to yourself, dude, when he said that, I should have said this, right? Like the Seinfeld episode, okay? Or you're thinking to yourself, man, I said the stupidest thing the other day, because when I went into the doctor to get myself my test, and the doctor's like, dude, sorry, you have COVID. The doctor said, hey, dude, I hope you feel better. And I said, you too. Why did I say that? I don't know why I said that. Right? But we all have those moments. We go over them in our head. All of us do this, right? And then we have our list of worries and our list of deadlines and our list and our list and our list and our list. And before you know it, even though you could have been to bed at 9:30, it's 11 or midnight or 2. And most of what you worried about didn't matter, right? And even if you did worry about it, did you actually make anything change? Is tomorrow going to be better? Now, it's worth noting that the world has the world's answer, okay? And the Bible has the biblical answer. The world's answer, because it's always good to go ahead and just see what the world's up to, has basically 2 ways it answers the question of, I can't sleep, my mind is racing. Way number 1, the world, for money, is more than willing to sell you all sorts of organizational devices, right? There are books and binders and videos and all sorts of stuff everywhere that will be sold to you if you're willing to pay for it that will organize you away from stress. Okay? Now, my experience, and I think this experience I've seen most people have with that round of the world, is that at first you start your new organizational strategy and you have your pie charts and you have your multicolored things and all your wonderful little Post-it notes and you're ready to go. We've all been there, right? And then we do it, and at first it seems to make things go smoother, right? And it brings down your anxiety. And then you go to bed at 9, and the first few nights you're sleeping better, right? But then by like night 4 or 5, I find, at least for me, that my worries simply switch. Because instead of worrying about like, did I do the groceries? I don't have to, that's been organized. I start worrying about things like, should I have categorized cream under coffee? And therefore it be teal? Or do I classify it under food? Because cream isn't really food. It's not like anyone walks up to the creamer and just chugs it, and if you do, I'm sorry. Okay? Because it's not really food like the way a Kraft cheese slices food, right? And you still spend all night up. The other flip side, because the world doesn't like balance, the world goes one extreme or the other, is, and I know Gen Zs, I know this is an outdated term, but it's such a fun term. YOLO. I know, so 2010. Okay? YOLO. For those of you who do not know, that means you only live once. And my experience, vicariously through my wife, who was a campus pastor, when the word YOLO was in common usage about a decade ago, every time I saw a human being go, all right, YOLO, it was then followed by something incredibly stupid, often taking oneself out of the gene pool. And louder you yelled it, dumber the activity that followed was. Because it became this excuse for you only live once, what does it all matter? Kasplat. Okay. The world likes to live in extremes. The world likes to push to extremes. The Bible, however, pulls us back towards the middle, back towards harmony, back towards balance. So what does the Bible say about that horrible, awful witching hour? Ecclesiastes starts with the first half of the equation. Ecclesiastes is there to remind you that a lot of what you worry about, a lot of where all that energy gets drained to, is worrying about things that don't matter. Take my doctor example. I've said equally stupid things to the guy at Dunkin' Donuts. I've said equally stupid things to the guys at Starbucks, and so on and so forth, right? We all have. Here's the thing. Having worked retail, the only thing that person cares about is that you are a decent human being to them. Right? Like the bar your barista has for you is, are you going to treat me horribly or not? And are you going to tip me? Because you should tip your baristas. Okay? Because if you're a nice human being who leaves a tip, your barista really isn't sitting there racking themselves over what did that customer mean, right? And then why are you putting more thought into it than than the person you said it to? There's a certain vanity to that, because what you're assuming is that just because you are the hero of your story, that you're the hero of your barista story, and the answer is you're not. And that's okay. Think about how many people in the day that you meet and they say something sort of silly and you don't even notice. It's the same for that barista, the same for that doctor, the same for that banker, the same for all the folks you work with. As long as you treat folks with dignity, you're probably good to go. McDonald's employees probably just happy you're not one more Karen screaming at them. Or Carl. So don't worry yourself. Because to do that is to chase the wind. To do that is to expend energy and hours that you could be investing in something else. Honestly, Brad Paisley in the song The World, if you haven't heard it, go Google it. It's an awesome song from about a decade ago. He has a song that's to his daughters. And basically the song says, I know in life sometimes you feel like you're just another checking account to your banker, just another scoop to the ice cream guy, just another whatever. And he says that's true, but you're the world to me. And I know I am the world to you. That's what Luke is getting at. See, Luke is reminding us the other half of the equation. If we can free up our bandwidth by stopping worrying about those things that do not matter or that we do not have control over, that then frees up our time, frees up our resources, frees up our ability to focus that energy, that time, on the things that do matter. Like family, like friends, like parents, like children. Because just as much as a McDonald's employee just has a low bar of please be a decent human being to me, your kids are watching everything you say. Your kids are hearing every tone you make. Your kids are remembering what you did. But so are your parents, your siblings, your spouses, your close friends. Because as much as you don't matter to your banker because you're just another checking account, you do matter to those that love you. And therefore, what you do, what you say, and how you spend your time, with or without them, is in fact important. Luke takes us on specifically when it comes to jobs and basically says, guys, I mean, you got to make a living, but at a certain point, you also have to decide, am I spending my time making an extra however many dollars, or am I spending my time with my family? There's a middle ground in there, too. You can't totally, you should hopefully be more than just a decent human being to your boss, though that's a good place to start. Work up from. Some people don't make it there, right, bosses? But you don't have to invest as much in your work life as you do your family, right? It's all about balance. That's why Ecclesiastes reminds you to figure out what isn't important. Luke reminds you to figure out what is important and figure out the ever-changing, ever-difficult game of balancing those. When it comes to where does your energy, your focus, your time, those things that you are truly blessed with, those things that are really the only things you have. Chase those. Don't chase the wind. As you go out today, I want you to ask yourself 2 questions. Question number 1 is a question from Ecclesiastes. Where are those places in your life, either in energy or time or money or whatever? Are you spending your time simply chasing the wind? Something here today, gone tomorrow. Or if you were gone, you would be forgotten and simply replaced. When you identify those, disinvest from them, please. Then, take some time and look at those places in your life that are truly important, truly meaningful, where you truly derive happiness, joy, and peace from. Those places in your life where if you were gone, you'd be forever missed and never replaced. Take time of what you've saved here and invest it here. Because God does not want us to spend our time on this earth simply chasing the wind.